In India, every child is an entrepreneur. India only needs to do one thing. We need to accept failures. Without failing, you can't succeed. Somehow Indian mothers don't like their child to fail. So all parents must know that their child must fail once or twice, does not matter. Even if he's a school dropout, he'll become a great entrepreneur. So India needs to build an entrepreneurial culture now. And Indians must put money into our startups now.
Okay.
All of us should put money into our startups.
Okay.
G20 is a far more powerful body than UN. UN is very unwieldy. UN has 186 members. It has failed to perform its duty. The UN Security Council structure was made at a point of time when it was envisaged that the big 5 states will never go to war. Today, all the 5 states are at,
loggerheads.
The Ukraine war is going on for a year and a half. So the Security Council has failed. UN failure actually demonstrates that the answer to an alternative model lies in G20.
The biggest reason that we started this show was to put out free of cost, extremely useful information out there for the Indian masses. This particular conversation is for the future of India, for the future leaders of this country. You're going to enjoy it if you've enjoyed any of our geopolitical conversations, because today we have India's G20 Sherpa, Amitabh Kant, on the show. He served as the CEO of Niti Aayog. He served as a bureaucrat for the majority of his career. I asked him extremely deep questions about governance, administration, and India's future in general. At least if you're from the business world, I think you're going to find tremendous value in this conversation. Enjoy the special episode of TRS with the one and only Amitabh Kant. Amitabh Kant, sir, I've been told I need to be afraid of this conversation, but I'm really not. I feel if someone gets to meet you in person, you're a friendly person. That's what I feel.
Just enjoy.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Let's start with a very simple question.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's up?
G20.
That's what's on your mind primarily?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Right now, focused on it.
Okay. Sorry to make you work on a Sunday, but I couldn't resist this opportunity to have a conversation with you.
You're making me work hard on a holiday. But good.
Okay. No, I promise you'll enjoy this conversation.
All right.
At least I'll try to make you enjoy the conversation.
Sure.
I think this is less of a grilling conversation and more of a teach us something, sir.
Yeah.
Because I feel people my age especially don't read as many books as earlier generations did. Yeah. And I'd probably say the same for the Gen Zs, the ones younger than me, like the teenagers of today. These kind of formats have become learning portals. Yeah. So this knowledge, whatever you dish out today on the show, is going to be on the internet for like 10, 20 years and teach the rest of India.
Wonderful.
Like whatever you have in your mind.
Wonderful.
Which is why I love talking to people who have experiences, because you get to unpack a lot.
Yeah.
And I get to learn as well.
No, lovely.
Okay.
I'll learn from you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's always good to learn from someone who's so lively and belongs to a younger generation.
No, I'm glad, sir. So,
and who believes in fitness.
That's been a big learning for you in life?
I really think so. Okay. I really believe that I played sports in school. And then when I got into the districts, etc., I used to do exercise. Then I didn't do for a long time. But physical fitness is the most important thing. Good health, to my mind, is the most important thing in life. Everything else is secondary.
Yeah. Does it piss you off a little bit when the West takes things like yoga, which is the core of Indian health?
No, I feel good that something from India has gone all over the world. The whole world has accepted yoga.
Yeah.
And today it's a matter of pride for India. So I think many of our inherent strengths we should pass on to the world for the world to benefit from our today digital public infrastructure which India has created. We should educate the world on it. And that is India's strength.
Okay. Can you break down this process of educating the world on it?
Vasudev Kutumbakam. One earth, one family, one future.
Okay.
We believe that we may have different geographical boundaries, we may have different political ideologies, but we all come from the same cosmos. And therefore, G20's basic ethos of one family and one future and one earth is, to my mind, most important.
Yeah. It's one of the themes of our show. There's a Buddhist chant which goes Om Mani Padme Hum. So I'd asked a Buddhist monk on the show what the main difference between Buddhism and Hinduism is. And he said that in Buddhism, the first and foremost thought is altruistic thinking, which is Vasudev Kutumbakam, which says that you first pray for the welfare of the world. I think that's anciently what India was for the world as well. Like everyone knows the stories of Nalanda, Takshashila, how we were like a knowledge center. I feel, sorry I'm saying this, but your generation, when you guys were young, y'all saw much more difficult India. And now y'all are kind of giving the reins over to like my generation. And we're seeing like a very bright, sparkly new India, which is where my next question will come from.
So, when we were growing up, there was no other alternative but to join the government. When we started Startup India movement, there were just 150 odd startups. Today, there are over 1 lakh of startups. If I was to begin my life again, I would do a startup rather than joining the IS.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I also know that when you work closely with the government, you have data points in your head. So I'm going to ask you, what startup would you do? So.
Well, I would get into deep tech. I would get into advanced chemistry cell battery. I would look at electric mobility because that is the area which is going to redefine India.
Okay. Redefine India.
Because in India, there are only 22 vehicles per 1,000 people right now. In United States, there are 1,100 vehicles per 1,000 people. So India's journey of mobility has just begun. We can easily get into electric mobility for the future. In America, if they move from presently, they move towards electric mobility, the level of destruction will be very high. In India, we can do all two-wheelers 100% as electric vehicle. We can do three-wheelers, fully electric vehicles. All new cars should be electric vehicles. I'm a great believer. We should be the technology leaders of the world in this.
Okay.
Yes.
This is where the next big money opportunity is.
Huge.
According to the data.
Yes.
Okay. Which is why every politician I've had on the show keeps talking about semiconductors. Everyone brings it up. It's a big part of this same.
So 3 or 4 things according to me. One is battery for storage, that is on electricity and for mobility. Mobility itself, semiconductor chips, which is very, very critical for the world. And I think green hydrogen, because the world will go green. And even if we make all our electricity renewable, that's only 20% of energy. Balance 80% is fossil fuel, jo hum import karte hain, what we import. So that can all go green with green hydrogen. Gotcha. And green hydrogen we produce by using renewable energy, cracking water, and producing absolutely green hydrogen. And that can be used in refinery, steel, cement, fertilizer. So these are new areas of growth. We'll be a world leader if we get into all new areas of growth. That will give us the big advantage to go forward.
You know this show called Shark Tank India, right?
Yes.
It built an entrepreneurial culture in our country. Like I've been doing YouTube for 8 years, and only in year 7, which was in parallel with Shark Tank India, did our business content really take off in our country. So entrepreneurial spirit is extremely high right now. Like people
in India, every child is an entrepreneur. India only needs to do one thing. We need to accept failures. Without failing, you can't succeed. Somehow Indian mothers don't like their child to fail. So all parents must know that their child must fail once or twice, does not matter. Even if he's a school dropout, he'll become a great entrepreneur. So India needs to build an entrepreneurial culture now. And Indians must put money into our startups now. All of us should put money into our startups.
Because you've been the CEO of Niti Aayog, I'm going to ask you specifically how we can break that down. What's the actual practical way of doing that? Like, how do you benefit the entrepreneurs of the next generation of our country? Because I'm sure you have a lot of inputs from the policy perspective also. So 2 questions. What's happening now? And if you had all the power in the world to make all the change immediately, what were the changes you would make?
So, first of all, I think India must put money into our startups, our pension funds, our insurance companies, all Indian family businesses, people like you and me, all of us put some money into our startups. Doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Like as
Resources. Because we today are dependent on foreign money coming into our startups. Startups need resources. So we should not make ourselves dependent on foreign resources for money. That's number one. Number two, all good business ideas should be supported. Thirdly, we should waive out all rules, regulation, which we have done. We need to do more at the state level. All rules, regulation, in sabko hata dena chahiye for startups. Okay. And fourthly, we need to create more fund of funds. Kya hota hai? When you do fund of funds, there is a fund of fund which will support venture funds. And venture funds then put money into startups. Okay. So we should have more fund of funds where through the venture funds, we provide a lot of more money into our startup movements. Okay. That is the way forward.
Okay.
And you'll see millions of Indians doing startups. Somebody doing a physical fitness, somebody doing deep tech, somebody doing mobility, somebody doing batteries, somebody doing recycling of batteries. Yeah, this is the movement we need to create. Joining government should be the last choice.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Because the satisfaction you will get of building a new India, of creating new wealth, can only come from startups. Old companies always die. They start dying in the third generation. So all these big companies you are seeing, to sustain them over a long period is very difficult. We need to build the next 500 big companies. The energy level, the motivational level, the extent of, big companies all become bureaucratic. But the new startups have an energy level which is unparalleled.
For 3 generations.
They should, only for 3 generations. So you need disruption.
Got it.
You have to constantly keep disrupting status quo in every area. There are new technologies emerging.
Got
it. If Indians must be the biggest disruptors in the world. In every area.
Yes. They say that the actual India growth story, this whole $10 trillion economy thing that's going on, is heavily dependent on our private sector, which is exactly what you're saying also. Am I right in saying that?
I wrote a book, Made in India. That book is about the 75 years of business and enterprise. If India is to become a $10 trillion economy and become a $5 trillion economy by 2027, the role of private sector is critical and is key. Without private sector, India cannot grow.
Okay. But what is the true future of it? Like in terms of the Modi government is actively thinking constantly of the private sector, how to benefit it.
You see, the key is that in the last 6-7 years, huge reforms were carried out. So goods and services tax, which replaced 32 different taxes and cesses. You have insolvency bankruptcy code, because earlier there was no way of getting out of failures. Now insolvency bankruptcy code have come in. The Real Estate Regulation Act came in. Then the corporate tax was reduced very sharply. Government gave away 1,45,000 crores so that corporate taxes at international level. The definition of MSME was redefined. All this was done to promote private sector investment in India. Partly because COVID came in, I think it has impacted. But next 2-3 years, to my mind, will be the golden period of India's growth. I have a feeling that in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll see huge growth in India. Because we've carried out all the structural reforms. And because we are now a very digital economy. Because every Indian has an identity. We created 550 million bank accounts during 2015 to 17. Every second bank account was opened in India. And then we linked up Aadhaar and mobile number with the bank account. Today we do 11x more payment than America and Europe. We do 4x more than China. 46% of the fast payment in the world are made in India. 46%. So India has become a very digital economy now. We have pole vaulted digitally. That will help us in a very big way in future.
Okay. So you did a lot of things in your career before the Niti Aayog phase. I just get the sense from getting to know you a little bit that I have that even you're a lifelong learner. So you have a learner's mentality. I want to ask you a couple of questions. One, for school students watching this who don't have much of an idea of what Niti Aayog even is, I'd love for you to explain it in your own words. And two, I'd love for you to explain the story of how it panned out for you and what you learned from that whole process, because you would have got to see India from a very different perspective then. So please, sir, you take it ahead.
So Niti Aayog is National Institution for Transforming India. It is a new body. It replaced the Planning Commission of India in 2015. The Planning Commission used to do planning for every state, provide resources from here. When the new government of Mr. Modi came in, the Prime Minister and the cabinet felt that we should actually move away to transforming India through a new body rather than plan. Planning had not helped us, very rigid planning had not helped us. We should assist and support states. So it became a big government think tank, and it did several innovative things with the states. It started ranking states on ease of doing business, on water, on education. Secondly, it started the Startup India movement through Atal Innovation Mission. Then it actually brought in the aspirational district program, that 115 of the most backward districts of India. How do you transform them? So we used data to transform them. We started making them compete, ranking them.
It's sort of like an incubator for both state governments as well as the future of India. Okay,
it's a transforming agency. It's a think tank of the government for future growth.
Okay.
It advises the government as a think tank.
Okay. Now, spicy questions.
Yes, please.
What were your learnings? Like, what was your excitement? What were your learnings? How did your viewpoint about governing India change after that phase?
So, one is that you have to have people of India in your mind always. So, earlier, I'd worked with fishermen of Kerala. And for 4 years, I worked with fishermen. I gave them new technology. I gave them new outboard motors, new fishing nets, new crafts. And fishermen were prone to drinking. They used to drink. So they would spend every money. So I had to open their bank account. Then we introduced beach level auctioning. For fisherwomen, we introduced new buses to take them to the city. So all this was a learning ground that you have to work with the community. The community is the most important factor. The other learning lesson for me was that data is very important. That without data and now it's possible to get real-time data on the mobile. So technology has improved a lot. So that technology should help us to put ranking. We must make everybody compete all the time. Districts must compete, cities must compete, states must compete, ranking must be put in public domain. We must learn the art of naming and shaming. Those who come first must get credit. Those who come last, people must know why they are coming last. Some district is not doing well, they get the same money. But one is coming number one is coming last. Why is he coming last? We should put it out in public domain. And people should know why one particular district is doing badly. The district collector and the MP and MLA of that area must be shamed. So that is my belief.
Okay.
For India to improve.
Okay. Very sports mentality oriented, organized.
Competition.
Right.
Constant competition.
Okay. Couple of questions. What did you specifically make them compete on? So, for example, in a football league, they get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. That's the point system. What was the competition here? And the second question is the guys at the bottom, was it always a case of bad leadership?
So we had 48 indicators.
Okay.
48 indicators on education, learning outcomes, health outcomes, nutrition. All these were outcomes. And we were constantly monitoring them on real-time basis and putting out the ranking on a monthly basis. Those districts which do well, we should support them through some additional resources. Those which do not well, we should ask them why they are not doing well. We should support those who are not doing well by additional motivation, by asking them why you are not doing well, what is the other help you require, and support them. That is what we did all through. And we saw improvement in districts which were not doing well also by hand-holding them, by supporting them.
Okay. Because India is a combination of so many micro countries and we build up one mega country.
We are bigger than, it's important to understand, we are bigger than 24 countries of Europe. So some countries have historically done well. In manufacturing, Maharashtra, Gujarat have done well. In education, Kerala, Tamil Nadu has done well. But every part of India must grow fast. Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, all of them have to grow. So we have to handhold them so that India grows.
Yeah. You've spoken a lot about the southern states and how they're very key to like the growth story of India. They're probably a center forward. I want to ask you actually about the weaker states. A couple of questions again. What's going wrong in those weaker states? Is it their past that's causing the present to go wrong? And the second question is obviously, how do you correct it? Do you send the best bureaucrats in the country there? Like, what's the protocol?
They get good governance. To my mind, this is about good governance, and all these states can actually improve very fast with good governance.
Okay.
And I'm seeing a huge transformation in UP now. UP is seeing massive transformation. You see the roads now. You see the power supply now. You see the quality of implementation of the projects on ground. Top class now. So UP is seeing transformation. If UP improves, UP, if it was a country, will be the 6th biggest country in the world. So if UP improves, India goes up. I think similarly, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, huge focus has to be laid on good governance. Good governance is the key to transforming these states. Not resources, good governance.
Break down that word, that thought.
Good governance means you constantly monitor. You constantly ask questions. You constantly bring reforms. You constantly change rules, regulation, laws to develop growth. Say why have the ambition that we have to grow at 10% for next 30 years. And then build roads, build completely new. If people need houses, provide houses. If people need education, provide education. Provide teachers, improve health outcomes. Education, health, nutrition, Anganwadi should work. Grassroots work is very important. That is good governance.
Okay.
You will see improvement.
Okay. And that's the case for all the states which are probably lower down on that table.
I think
it's effectively
absolutely
bad governance. Not everyone's bad.
I'm not saying bad governance. I'm saying there can be a huge improvement in governance of these, and with focus on education, health, nutrition. Completely.
Okay. How do you effectively then change the governance?
I think there has to be both political and administrative transformation. There has to be bureaucratic will and there has to be political direction. Both. Political direction is very important and a bureaucratic will is very important.
Okay. Again, a lot to break down here.
Yes.
By political direction, do you basically mean that the political leaders have to have it in their heart?
Yes, absolutely. In their heart. That I have been an elected chief minister, or an elected minister, my job is to ensure 10% growth and I will do it with integrity.
Okay. please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm also learning about these subjects as I'm going forward. I've had some political commentators on the show. I've had both pro-Modi people and anti-Modi people to get a 360-degree view. They say that, in the states, it's a non-BJP government. Then there's difficulties in the center and state coordinating in order to build more reforms. Is that true from your eyes?
No. Irrespective, I don't want to get into politics. Irrespective of whether it is BJP, non-BJP, every state government has to reform. Every state government has to do away with outdated laws. Every state government has to scrap rules, regulation, procedures. Too many procedures built from 47 till now. Socialistic thinking. We have to get out of socialistic thinking to make private sector grow. We have to handle private sector.
Okay. And again, the blockages that you see in state governments, is it effectively just human ego coming into play? Or
outdated laws which were made for another era, for industrial licensing, for socialistic era. All that were made for another period which has remained now.
Okay.
Why should there be Inspector Raj now? All inspectors must go. Everything can be digital now. Why do you need physical inspection? You can see everything on your mobile. New technology. Why should you have all along built all the old regulation? Say every week I should file a report, private sector should file a report to the inspector. Why should that be? Why should there be labor inspectors? Everything can be monitored digitally.
Yeah, in my eyes, the solution is probably younger leadership everywhere. Younger people in charge, both in terms of bureaucracy and in terms of politics. I'm sure bureaucracy, you might be able to change things. But with politics, I don't know, honestly, if people my age are even willing to enter that world.
So every system of government, politics, bureaucracy, everywhere we need younger minds and younger people.
Okay.
We need to bring in young India everywhere. That's my belief.
And more women?
Many more. We need gender equality and women leadership and labor participation of women of very high order. More than 50% of recruitment. Women have started doing very well now. Every competitive exam, every IS exam, only women top now. Many schools and colleges, women are doing better than boys. I studied here in one college called St. Stephen's College. When I was studying, it was all males. Today, there are more girls than boys. So you have to give, we have reached a situation on merit that if you have to keep 50-50, you have to give more marks, you have to give grace marks to boys. So, but you have to see that women get into leadership position.
Yeah. We had an entrepreneur on the show who actually brought this up, Kunal Shah. I don't remember the exact data that he had quoted, but he had said something like only 3% of all women in the country are a part of our workforce. And this was back in 2020. I hope that things have changed now.
No, remarkable change has taken place because Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, when it started, only 17% women had bank accounts. Today, 86% of women have bank accounts. So every women bank account has come. That means money goes into their account. Most of them have started using mobile smartphones to do digital transaction. Huge improvement has taken place in India, in women. But now we need, as the Prime Minister says, we put women into leadership positions. So I think we need many more women in leadership positions.
Yeah. It might actually sort out all these other problems we've spoken about also.
So young people, women will bring new energy to the country.
Okay. What else?
I think I am a great believer that we need a lot of scrapping of rules and regulations. Too many regulations we built up in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, which were outdated for us because we wanted to control banks. So bank nationalization, we wanted to do coal nationalization, coal. All rules and regulations were made for controls. Now we need everybody to fly. We need young Indians to fly. We need everybody to create wealth. We need everybody to progress. We need development of another kind. Government can't do that. Government can be facilitator. It can be catalyst. We can help. So scrap all these rules, regulation, and every law that we make should be a law for 5 years. It should lapse after 5 years.
Okay.
So that we make new law after 5 years.
Okay.
Because world is changing very fast. Every 5 years, the world is going through a digital revolution in 5 years. So every 5 years, we should have a new law.
But practically, what's stopping those laws from being changed?
Because there is you need political will at state level now. Center has done that. Center scrapped 1,500 laws. Now, we have so many states. Every state must do the similar thing.
Yeah. I think this is what a lot of urban elite fail to understand. And I'll be very honest with you here. Again, I'm being raw. You don't have to respond. I'll get political slightly. I try kind of bringing out centrist perspectives through my show. But mostly everyone who is anti-Modi, how they view the situation is, oh, kya kiya 9 saal mein? What have you done in 9 years? I don't think people understand exactly what you just said. That to actually change the country, there needs to be a lot of work between the states and the central governments as well. And that is a slower process.
I think now the game has shifted to the states.
Okay.
Game should shift to the states. And we should ask questions why the states are not reforming.
The game has shifted to the states.
The state, all reforms which were to happen in center have happened. Now, every state has to be a reformer.
Like, to understand this thought better, can you break that down? Like, in the past 9 years, what has the center done?
So, center brought in GST, center brought in RERA, center brought in IBC, bankruptcy code, center brought in lower corporate tax, center scrapped 1,500 laws, centers just scrapped a number of outdated regulations. All that center's done. Every state must review its own acts, laws, procedures, and in next 6 months scrap them. Otherwise, how will young entrepreneurs like you come up? Some will fail, some will succeed, but you need billions of women entrepreneurs succeeding in India. Billions and billions of entrepreneurs succeeding.
Yeah, at least...
you have to create a new spirit of growth.
Yeah, at least from my naive eye, sir, when you're talking about this new spirit of growth, I would assume that state governments also want to see maximum growth for their states. Plus, when we're talking about this ranking system in Niti Aayog and all.
Tell me, which is the most mineral-rich state of India?
Madhya Pradesh?
Jharkhand. Chhattisgarh. Okay. These are the most mineral-rich state of India. They should be growing at 12%, 13%.
Okay. So practically speaking, if someone like me, and like I'm a successful bootstrapped entrepreneur, I'm not a multi-millionaire. If I want to get into the manufacturing business tomorrow, if I want to go, I'm okay to go to Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. What difficulties will I face and how can I do it faster?
So every state has an industrial development corporation.
Okay.
Which supports, assists, and is supposed to handhold people like you. So first go and meet them. They will support you. They will tell you what the business opportunities there are. And they will handhold you to, and many of them have Atal Innovation Missions. And their startup movement will assist you and support you to go forward.
Am I bringing my leadership and skills to the table?
Yes.
That's what I'm bringing.
Yes.
Do I have to bring money to the table as well?
Your own equity. You bring your equity, they will provide you, they will assist you through the state financial corporation or through banks to get loans to take it forward. But some equity has to be brought in.
Okay. Again, these are golden nuggets from a business perspective that you're bringing on the show and we're putting it out free of cost. I just sincerely hope that a lot of entrepreneurs are watching this.
Yes. Every state has an industry department. Every state has an industrial development corporation. Every state has an investment supporting organization which will assist and support you. You should have a great business idea. Great business idea. You should have a little bit of equity. The rest will be supported through the state financial corporations.
Okay. Any other advice?
My advice is always have great business ideas. Think afresh. Move forward.
Okay. I'll tell you what the fear or concern of someone my age would be. People would be scared to kind of work with the government in some ways.
No, you don't have to work with the government. You are right. Working with the government is difficult. Have a business idea where whatever you produce, you should be able to sell to people other than government. Don't make yourself dependent on government. Never make yourself dependent on government. Don't produce something which only a government organization will buy. Your product should be so good that consumers should consume. Your program is consumed by consumer, not by the government. If I produce a product, my textile should be bought by consumers of India. My t-shirt I make should be bought by everybody. My machine part should be bought by industries. My shoes should be bought by the people of India. So produce products which have a larger consumer base, not the buyer should not be the government.
Okay. These corporations you spoke about right now, you said that go here and work with these corporations. I think people would have a fear element even in working with these corporations.
You're right. But these organizations are, in case you need to refine your business idea, in case you need some support for assistance, you can go and get assistance from them.
Yeah.
That's all.
The way I look at it, I think any business journey involves you getting your hands a little dirty.
Yeah.
You have to get in, do the work.
Absolutely.
And
see,
figure your way
without
forward.
dirtying your hand, you have to not only dirty your hands, you have to dirty your trousers, your shirt, everything. Dirty and fail. We should fail once or twice to succeed the third time. There's no great innovator who has not failed.
There's probably nothing more that we can say about this, right? Like there's no, you've put the advice out, you've put the tips out.
And Indian parents and mothers must learn that their children will fail.
Yeah.
But they will succeed the third time.
Yeah. Maybe, in the age of Shark Tank India where everyone's trying to do very glamorous products, the honest business truth is that boring businesses make the most money. So learn how to do boring businesses. And boring businesses also make your country way richer. Because boring businesses lead to exports as well.
No, see, it can be boring, it can be interesting, it can be anything. But have a great business idea where you are able to produce something for which there are consumers.
Okay. Yeah. How are you liking this interaction?
I'm enjoying it.
Why are you enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it because you're a lively interviewer.
Okay. You've had boring people ask you questions.
Many boring people.
What boring questions do you get? What question do you get where you go, oh God, I don't want to talk about this again?
They keep asking bureaucratic questions.
Okay.
You are asking questions which will make an impact to lives of citizens.
Are bureaucratic questions usually about the past and the present?
Yes.
And you like talking about the future?
I'm quite futuristic.
Why didn't you become a politician?
Because I'm not cut out to be a politician. I'm cut out to be somebody to deliver. I think I know my strength.
Thought leader?
I'm a thought leader, I think.
Like a thinker.
And I want to change things on ground.
Now, sir, we're talking about what's in your mind. G20.
So, we are having negotiations right now in G20 for the leaders' declaration. All the leaders will come to Delhi on 9th and 10th. We have to have a New Delhi leaders' declaration before that. We are working on that. And our objective is that India should do a unique G20. This should have a unique feel of everybody, all our ability to bring everyone together in G20. That's what
we had Harshvardhan Shringla sir on the show. He's the Foreign Secretary of India. He had some pretty brutal stuff to say about G20 in a positive way. He basically said that the UN has not been doing their work. And G20, the point of it is to kind of do some of the work that the UN has not been doing for all these years. Do you look at it in the same way?
G20 is a far more powerful body than UN. UN is very unwieldy. UN has 186 members. It has failed to perform its duty. The UN Security Council structure was made at a point of time when it was envisaged that the big 5 states will never go to war. Today, all the 5 states are at,
loggerheads.
The Ukraine war is going on for a year and a half. So the Security Council has failed. UN failure actually demonstrates that the answer to an alternative model lies in G20. G20 is a body which has developed countries, which has emerging countries, all of them together. And this is really, it accounts for 85% of global GDP, 78% of global trade. And therefore, G20 is a very, very powerful forum.
Hmm.
Now, with the Prime Minister's focus on bringing African Union as a permanent member now, this will have huge representation because 54 African countries through the African Union will get represented here, and that will carry a lot of voice.
Okay. I think when it comes to people in power or people in governance, the public often forgets that even you guys are human and y'all also see the same movies that we see.
Yeah.
And y'all have also seen all these scenarios like Day After Tomorrow,
Yeah.
those movies which talk about global warming and flooding and all that. The narratives in meme culture and the internet are generally that, oh, Mumbai is going to be submerged, Kolkata is going to be submerged. Do these conversations come up
Yes,
where
absolutely.
apocalyptic scenarios could be a reality in 20 years?
The world will survive, but we as human beings will go extinct if we don't work for climate action.
Okay.
We are not responsible for carbonizing the world.
That's the West.
That's the West. They have gobbled up 88% of the carbon space. We have taken only 1.3% of the carbon space. Yet, we have achieved more on going green than any other country in the world. In renewable, in green hydrogen, all these areas. And therefore, we are far ahead of any other country in this.
Okay. Is that also an entrepreneurial opportunity?
Huge opportunity.
Okay.
Going green, going digital is the biggest entrepreneurial opportunity for us.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the closest to your heart because of that same thing we spoke about, you creating a better future for India and probably the world as well.
The world is going to go green.
Okay.
We are seeing a huge shift towards going green.
So practically, how does the world go green? Practically, is it like less consumption of fossil fuels? That's one aspect.
Yeah.
What else?
So in every area, tomorrow, if you do not produce green steel, you will not be able to export. If you do not, for instance, let us say fertilizer will go green.
Fashion.
Fashion
clothes.
will go green. All these areas will go green over some period of
Okay.
time.
So-
So we should become the leader in going green.
Okay. I think every industry has opportunity to be environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
The downside is that it can be expensive. I think that's where a lot of capitalists hesitate. But I think effectively the game is to change the heart of the capitalists and make them understand that.
So initially it will be expensive. Subsequently, the costs will fall. And if you have to become a leader in something, for instance, whatever area you chase, if you get the size and scale right, then the prices come down. So initially it may be expensive, but subsequently the cost will come down. But therefore, if India is to be a leader in, like we have shown digitally, we became a leader, we are the least cost. Similarly, in going green, we can become, because we have a population of 1.4 billion, if we become the consumer of green products, then the cost will fall. So there is a big opportunity there.
So effectively, for the sake of unit economics, you have to manufacture a lot of green products. Therefore, you'll require a lot of capital at the top.
Yeah.
Therefore, ideally, the state and central governments again have to come into play and probably help you
Not
out a
only
little bit.
state, central, multinational banks, multilateral institutions,
Okay.
finance. So money has to flow in from abroad into many of these green areas.
Is that a challenge you face in your
Yes,
job,
that's right.
convincing leaders of all
Yes,
these places?
Absolutely. Our argument is that since we have not polluted the world, we have not carbonized the world, climate justice demands that developed countries finance developing countries.
So गोरे ऐसे ही सोचते हैं कि
गोरे ऐसे। गोरों को ने 2009 में कमिट किया था
Okay.
कि क्लाइमेट जस्टिस के नाम पे they will pay $100 billion a year.
Okay.
They had not done it till now. This will be the first year they will actually pay $100 billion.
But are those leaders like your equivalent in Europe, in America, are they on the same page as you?
Well, they feel that multilateral institutions, World Bank, IMF, they need to change for supporting climate change.
Okay. And all you can do in your position is give the members of the G20 these kind of thoughts and
Yes.
hope that even they think the same way.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other
My job is to convince them that you need to support developing countries.
Okay. Because a lot of countries have started looking at India now
Yes,
as the big bro.
Absolutely.
All right. Fun dealing with China?
Tough.
Tough?
tough, but if you are able to convince them, if you say the right things, they'll come around.
How are they to deal with on a human level?
My equation with them is good, so I've been able to handle them. At a human level, if you talk to them, exchange ideas, and tell them that why this is necessary, they will understand. So we are working with them. In multilateral, you have to work with everybody.
Okay.
So we'll work closely with them.
From an economic perspective, things will get better between India and China?
I think that may take a little time.
Okay.
That may
Okay.
take a little time.
Is there anything else you would like to tell Indian entrepreneurs about working with Chinese people? Any message?
No, important thing is that the message that I would like to do is that we still import a lot from China.
Mm.
And all that is an opportunity for us to make in India.
Ooh.
That. Number two, it's important to understand that China imports a lot. It imports 2.7 trillion worth of goods from across the world. 2.7 trillion. India's exports to China is very low. It's about 450 million. So there's a big business opportunity in exporting from India to China. We should look at all the goods that China imports and actually manufacture and export to China.
Why is that number so low?
Because we have not looked at China as a business opportunity. We keep looking at Europe, keep looking at America. We should penetrate China.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that will happen. And I'll tell you
Can
why.
happen. Why not? We should just do a breakdown of what China imports and then make ourselves a champion in exporting to China.
The reason I say that is because I feel these decision makers in big Indian businesses, even in their heart, are nationalistic.
No. See, India cannot grow without exports.
Sure.
You need exports to grow. China is still importing a lot. That there is no doubt. 2.7 trillion. Now, let us penetrate China. That should be our mission.
It just makes business sense.
Yes, it makes business sense. Nothing but business sense.
Okay. All right. I think
Yeah.
we've almost reached the end of the episode.
This is a big business opportunity. Penetrate China.
Okay. Any other cues in terms of what we should think of exporting to China, especially? Because now
No.
you've drawn out the mathematical opportunity.
You have an opportunity to export from here. You can manufacture. There's not a thing which China does not need.
Everything.
Everything. Their population is so large that they need everything. You can produce everything from here.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So we should look, to my mind, vast range of items which India has. We can export to them. Engineering goods, textiles, fabrics, shoes, vast range of
I don't know where this question
food
popped.
processing.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the service sector at also? Because
Of
we
course.
are.
No. Service sector, of course. Service sector, we've gone around the world. Service sector is a given. Their language is a barrier, but service is still a huge opportunity.
Okay. But I think most Indians now are starting to learn English. Most Indians. And I know this because even...
No, language means the Chinese language.
Oh,
sometimes.
okay.
The
I was
Chinese.
talking specifically about
No,
China.
no.
All right.
English is not a problem for Indians. That is our strength. But about language, the services company dealing with China. Secondly, we need to master Chinese. We need a whole lot of Chinese speaking people to penetrate China in exports.
Okay, that's the game. I have really enjoyed this conversation with you, honestly, because again, of a bird's eye view on everything that's happening in the country. But when I talk to people like yourself, as a podcast, I constantly feel I've not done justice to the conversation because I've not been able to extract the knowledge. So I'm going to ask you to help me here. Is there anything you wish to cover? You've got a tone of the conversation that we've had.
Yeah.
What else would you like to say to like the audiences?
See, this my belief is that, as I said, that for India to grow at high rates, you need a very different energy level. That is entrepreneurial energy. And that means that we must make in India to size and scale and to global quality. Our emphasis on quality has to be very strong. It cannot be second class. We have to produce the best. Whatever we do, Whether we do infrastructure, whether we do construction, whether we do exports, everything we should be the world's best. Aim for quality, be the world's best.
From the little that I've learned from my own business career, by talking to other entrepreneurs as well, I feel like a lot of them have learned from the developed world because those people get quality right. So I think there needs to be a bit of collaborative mentality even
But
with...
then we can improve on that, no? You can do reverse engineering, you can learn, but make better stuff than them. We
Okay.
can do better products after some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the solution here to up that quality in your eyes? Is it what I said? Like
No,
work with
emphasis on quality. Everywhere, focus on quality, quality, quality.
Okay.
Yeah. Never compromise on quality. Indians should never compromise now on quality. Whatever we do, we should be the world's number one.
All right.
Yeah.
That's about it, sir.
Thank
You had
you.
fun.
Thank you.
You had fun speaking today.
Oh, yes. Always a pleasure talking.
Okay. I am definitely going to speak to you again in life.
Thank you.
Maybe the next time we'll do it in Hindi because I feel there's a
जरूर.
lot.
हिंदी में बात करेंगे आप उसमें ज्यादा मजा आएगा.
Huh, for sure.
sure.
I would love to invite you back on TRS, sir. Thank you. Learned
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Thank you.
I really, really find value as a business person having these conversations with people like you who work with the government. Honestly, the very raw input yours, you guys have too much data. And you guys know exactly what's happening in the country and you know how the country is going to make money. So these conversations are very important for the world of business, especially for people my age, a lot of whom are thinking about either growing their business careers or switching into a business career. So thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks.
And I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a
sir.
lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the episode for today. I'd love to know what you guys thought of the episode. Please tell me in the comment sections down below. If you're not too familiar with our podcast, we have a Hindi podcast as well. And the next time Amitabh Kant is going to be on the show, we're going to do it in Hindi. Because honestly, I feel like that's the podcast that's really changing India. While all these English episodes are extremely useful, the Hindi episodes are the ones which are actively changing our country together. Tell me what you thought of this episode and tell me how we can keep improving TRS. We'll be back soon. Keep supporting.